Hey everybody, Steve here at Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia, and I'm here at the gravesite of Constance Bennett, and it took me a while to find her final resting place. There was a little bit of, as you can see here, they're doing some construction, so I had to take the long way, but it was fine. It was very scenic and lots of interesting gravesites to see. So actress Constance Bennett was the sister of actress Joan Bennett, and Constance appeared in more than 50 films. She appeared next to some of the biggest male stars in Hollywood during her career. She co-starred with Cary Grant in the very fun ghost film Topper. So I love the Topper movies and the Topper TV show. So I was happy to see that she was laid to rest here where I could visit her. Bennett was born on October 22nd, 1904 and died July 24th, 1965. Her cause of death was a hemorrhagic stroke, and she's laid to rest here at Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia, in Section 3, which is near the back of the cemetery, just about as far away from the entrance as you can get. The public isn't allowed to drive in the cemetery, so plan on a very long walk unless you take one of the shuttles, but her Find a Grave memorial page does have a GPS, so it does help make it easy to find. Over the years, many actors and actresses have played ghosts on the screen, so today I thought I would remember some of the more memorable movie and TV screen ghosts and the late actors who played them. And for those of you who make it all the way to the end of this video, I'm going to share with you my visit to one of the most popular ghost graves here in the US. Can you guess which grave I'm talking about? I'll bet some of you have also visited this very famous grave. Actress Joan Blondell died in 1979 at the age of 73. Her cause of death was leukemia, and she's buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California. In the 1941 film Topper Returns, she plays a young woman named Gail Richards who is stabbed to death and comes back as a ghost to help solve the mystery of who killed her. Leo G. Carroll died in 1972 at the age of 85. His cause of death was pneumonia, and he's buried at Grandview Memorial Park in Glendale, California. Carroll played Marley's ghost in the 1938 film A Christmas Carol, and he also starred in the 1950s TV sitcom Topper, which was based on the popular movies. But he doesn't play a ghost in Topper. He plays the central character who's haunted by the Kirbys, a husband and wife who are ghosts. Dame Edith Evans died in 1976 at the age of 88, and her cause of death was not disclosed. She's buried at St. Paul's Churchyard in Covent Garden, which is in London, England. Evans played the ghost of Christmas Past in the 1970 film Scrooge. Cary Grant died in 1986 at the age of 82. His cause of death was a stroke. He was cremated, and the location of his cremains is unknown. Grant played ghost George Kirby, the husband of Marion Kirby, in the 1937 film Topper. Rex Harrison died in 1990 at the age of 82. His cause of death was pancreatic cancer. He was cremated, and his cremains were scattered. Harrison played the ghost Captain Daniel Gregg in the 1947 film The Ghost and Mrs. Muir. Anne Jeffries died in 2017 at the age of 94. Her cause of death was natural causes, dying in her sleep. She was cremated, and the location of her cremated remains are unknown at this time. She played Marion Kirby in the 1950s TV sitcom Topper. Boris Karloff, who's best remembered for playing Frankenstein's monster in the 1930s films Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and Son of Frankenstein, died in 1969 at the age of 81. His cause of death was pneumonia. He was cremated, and his remains are interred at Guildford Crematorium in Guildford, England. In 1966, he played ghost Hiram Stokely in the movie The Ghost in the Invisible Bikini. Burt Lancaster died in 1994 at the age of 80. His cause of death was a heart attack. He was cremated, and his remains are buried at Westwood Memorial Park in Westwood, California. In 1989, Lancaster played a ghost named Archibald Moonlight Graham in the movie Field of Dreams. Ray Liotta died in 2022 at the age of 67. His cause of death was natural causes, dying in his sleep, and his burial details are unknown at this time. He played the ghost Shoeless Joe Jackson in the 1989 film Field of Dreams. Edward Mulhare died in 1997 at the age of 74, and his cause of death was lung cancer. He's buried at St. Joseph's Cemetery in Cork, Ireland. He played the ghost Captain Daniel Gregg in the TV series The Ghost and Mrs. Myuu, which aired from 1968 to 1970, and it was based on the film. Vincent Schiavelli died in 2005 at the age of 57. His cause of death was lung cancer. He's buried at Polizzi Generosa Cemetery in Polizzi Generosa, which is in Sicily, Italy. He played a subway ghost in the 1990 film Ghost. Robert Sterling died in 2006 at the age of 88, and his cause of death was natural causes. He was cremated, and the location of his cremains are unknown at this time. He played ghost George Kirby opposite his real-life wife, Anne Jeffries, in the TV show Topper, which ran from 1953 to 1956, and aired often in reruns in the 1960s when I was growing up. Patrick Swayze died in 2009 at the age of 57, and his cause of death was pancreatic cancer. He was cremated, and his ashes were scattered. He starred as the ghost Sam Wheat in the 1990 film Ghost. H.B. Warner died in 1958 at the age of 82, and his cause of death was a heart attack. He was cremated, and his remains are interred at the Chapel of the Pines Crematory in Los Angeles, California. He plays Henry Carrington, who becomes a ghost after he's killed in an auto accident in the 1941 film Topper Returns. Earlier this year, some of you may remember that I took a road trip back to Savannah, Georgia to visit the very famous and historic Bonaventure Cemetery. Well, I discovered that right across the street from the cemetery is a company that offers tours of the cemetery, including ghost tours. Apparently, Savannah, Georgia is America's most haunted city. So what better place to visit the gravesite of a famous ghost? When I stopped over at the tour company, they gave me this. It says, "Visit Bonaventure Cemetery." Promotes their cemetery tours where death and beauty meet. And this is the photo of little Gracie Watson. They say she's the most visited gravesite here in Bonaventure Cemetery. She's also the most famous ghost here in Savannah. If I remember the story correctly, she was only 6 years old when she died, just a couple of days before Easter, and her parents, of course, were distraught. They had this sculpture, this life-size sculpture made of her, and when she was buried here in the cemetery, they had this placed on top of her gravesite. At the time of her death, her parents owned the Pulaski Hotel, which was in downtown Savannah, and she used to be sort of the unofficial greeter to people who would come to the hotel. And today, all these years later, more than a century later, people still believe that they see her ghost in and around the area where the hotel was. It's now one of the parks downtown, and people believe that they see her in the park, and people also believe they see her here at the cemetery, inviting them into the cemetery and inviting them to her grave. So I'd like to think that if there are ghosts, that ghosts are just formerly people who now just want to be remembered. So when you hear stories like this, it makes sense in some ways that if someone does see a ghost of someone who wants to be remembered, wants people to visit their grave sites. She was a greeter at the hotel, and now she's a greeter here at the cemetery and at her gravesite. So it's kind of fun to think that that might be true. What do you think? Do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in Gracie Watson's ghost? Have you been here to her cemetery? Since it's the most visited gravesite in Savannah and in this cemetery, I'm guessing that a lot of you have been here, and a lot of you have probably also visited her gravesite. If you've seen any images, or if you've felt her ghostly presence, share your experiences with us in the comments section. This week I want to give a shout out and a very big thank you to my newest channel supporters, William, Zing Wilder, and Dan DeLynch. Thank you all for your very kind and very generous donations to my channel using either Patreon or YouTube Super Thanks. They are all very appreciated. And of course, I also want to thank all of you who have taken the time to subscribe to my channel, to leave comments, to give thumbs up to the videos that you like. That all helps my channel and means a lot too. If you happen to be watching this on Halloween, happy Halloween, everyone. So until our next road trip to the cemetery together, thanks for sharing the memories, everybody.